Okay, well, I saw this on the TV the other day. This is on the this is up on the big screen at the moment. This is yes, it's I wouldn't actually advertise Hyundai motor vehicles. If anyone ever sees me in a Hyundai or a Kia, call the cops because I've been abducted. But this is the thing that I think is quite interesting. Quite an interesting news item.
On Sunrise. A new space race is underway and it's right on our doorstep. NASA is teaming up with Australia to put the first woman on the moon before going where no human's gone before.
Yes, they're going to put the first, NASA's going to have a crack at putting the first woman on the moon. Now, I'm surprised that no one's jumped on this bandwagon a very long time ago, you know, because the Russians were very upset the Americans beat them to the moon. Got the first man on the moon. You know, it might have occurred to them possibly to put the first woman on the moon before the Americans got around to it. But there we go, from the moon to Mars. So they're ramping up the space program.
Opens up a whole new world of possibilities with a mission that's set to make history.
It was earth-shaking, groundbreaking and breathtaking. NASA put the first man on the moon in 1969.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
While the world watched on through the magic of television.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now, 50 years on, mankind is reaching for the stars again. There are plans to put the first woman on the moon by 2024, then use that as a launch pad for the first mission to Mars. And Australia's space agency has a seat on board the ambitious project.
Lifting our sights, exploring the frontiers of the skies.
Australia's space agency has teamed up with NASA for its next lunar mission, the Artemis, investing $150 million.
20,000 jobs in a $12 billion industry.
Now, did she say $180 million? Well, that will probably pay for a couple of helmets, but at least the thought is there, you know, as far as space programs go. 180. It's a little bit complicated rewinding this and playing that again. Like it's harder to do with this than it is on the computer. But anyway, Australia's getting involved. We're going to pitch some money in, and I think Australia's going to be doing what it did before with the lunar landings, and that is providing some communications links. This fella here, by the way, this fella here is our current Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. Well, because it's Australia, we call him ScoMo.
It opens up a whole world of possibilities, and now one of NASA's own is in Australia to help ideas take off.
I've got no time. And NASA's Deputy Director for Technology and Research Investments, Dr. Crystal Johnson, joins us from Adelaide's South Star Festival. Crystal, good morning, welcome.
Yes, notice Crystal's not a chef or a self-employed dog walker.
Now, landing the first woman on the moon before travelling to Mars is an extraordinary mission. What's involved, and can we get there by 2024?
There's a lot involved. We have a lot of technologies that we have to get ready, and it's really going to involve bringing all the best and brightest ideas to the table at the same time. Of course, it's going to require for us to get all of the resources that we need, so we need political help to make sure that we get all the finances that are going to be necessary. But when you bring all of the innovation together from all of the different areas, there's nothing that's impossible for us. So we can do it if we have all the right people at the table at the right time.
So what role is Australia going to be playing in this?
So Australia has many opportunities here. I mean, Australia has been right with us from the very beginning of the Apollo program, bringing communication, connecting those souls that travel out there with the souls that are left.
Yes, remember the first pictures from the lunar surface when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon came from Australia, from Honeysuckle Creek and from Parkes, of course. I can't remember which way around it was. It might have been the Parkes one, because the signal received at Parkes was a little bit better. They went with that one. but certainly they came from Australia. And the guy, I wasn't quick enough to stop it, but the fella that was in the blue just in the previous scene there was Andy Thomas, Australia's first astronaut, I think, or certainly was a space shuttle mission specialist. He's an Australian guy.
Behind, making sure that everybody gets a chance to see real time what's happening. You have laser communication, so we can have large amounts of data streamed back real time.
There you go. The fellow on the left is Andy Thomas, and the fellow on the right is the Prime Minister, the Australian Prime Minister. I'm not sure who the fellow in the foreground is here, but I suspect, because he's got a big American patch on his arm, that he's something to do with NASA as well.
To every one of your classrooms. So as we're going through the caves, the lava tubes on
And this is Australian Channel 7 Sunrise program, of course. I'll put a copyright thing up. I don't think they'll be overly bothered about this, but I just thought that this was worth showing, you know, because you get a lot of these people out there that are saying it's all rubbish, it never happened, you can't go to the moon, the Van Allen radiation belts, and of course none of these people know anything about the subject at all. They have zero understanding of any of it.
Mars, and we have the cameras on the tips of those robots. The children in the classroom will be able to explore with us real time and to be able to see what we're investigating. That's only the tip of the iceberg.
Crystal, this is very big for our little country. How difficult is it going to be to build a space industry in Australia?
Well, you'd be surprised at how easy it is. Once you have a very ambitious goal and you have a lot of needs in terms of technologies, people come out of the woodworks. You have a ton of startup companies here in Australia they start with one application, but when you use those applications in a whole different arena, you can make revolutionary changes, and I'll be talking about that some today.
See, we love punching above our weight. We've done it before, and we have faith with you, Crystal. Thank you very much.
I do. I listen to Crystal and go, all right, I'm on board. I'm going with you, Crystal.
Exactly.
Good.
Thank you very much for joining us.
So well, of course she does. She's from NASA, but she's incredible, isn't she? Coming up, a health.
Yeah, okay, so there's a little item on Channel 7, Australian Channel 7 Sunrise in Perth about getting the first woman on the moon. I can't remember if it's actually in this clip, but they said they wanted to do it by 2024, so that's in less than 5 years. NASA wants to put a woman on the moon. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that one, because no doubt once this stuff starts ramping up, there'll be some pretty good footage of the original lunar landing sites, I would think. They're going to want to preserve those as we venture out into space as a species over the coming decades and centuries. I would think that the original lunar landing sites, or certainly the Apollo 11 landing site, will be preserved, and should finally put to bed all the nonsense you hear from the sort of 0.005% of the population that actually do believe that NASA faked the moon landings. People like failed photographers, people like self-employed dog walkers, people like chefs. Anyway, so NASA wants to put the first woman on the moon by 2024 and then go on to Mars. And they're going to be using lasers for communication. That should be quite interesting. This is all in the very, very imminent future when you think about it. By 2024, I mean, it's almost the end of 2019 now. So it's very, very little time to get all this up and running. Will they do it? We'll just have to wait and see. They must be fairly confident to make a statement like that. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Only a short one, this one. I thought that just in case this didn't get aired in other countries, or there wasn't very much on the television about NASA wanting to do this, I'd just put it on YouTube so that a few more people could see it. And I think there'll be renewed interest in going to the moon from other countries as well. Because of the helium-3, I think it's a general consensus of opinion amongst the physicists that helium-3 is the fuel of the future. which means that anyone that can get to the moon will get to the moon because they'll want to stake their claim, because it's all over the surface of the moon apparently, helium-3. So they're going to need to stake their claim so they can scoop it up to run their fusion reactors. And just forget any of this free energy nonsense you might see on these other channels. You know, there's no, you can't. If it was possible to make a machine that would use no fuel whatsoever, as people like Miles Johnston would tell you more recently, showing you that especially if they mention suppressed Tesla technology, as soon as somebody says that, put a line through it because it's nonsense. If that was possible, then no one's going to be interested in mining the moon for helium-3, getting fusion reactors working, spending billions trying to get nuclear fusion working. No one will be doing that. All these big companies, you know, GEC, Raytheon, you know, you can go through a whole list of these huge companies that deal with energy and all that sort of stuff. They will be producing it without burning any fuel because their profits would be huge. Why wouldn't the Russian equivalents of those companies be making these power supplies, you know, that require no fuel? Why wouldn't the Chinese? If it's so easy to do, you know, why aren't the Chinese equivalents of these big massive energy companies making these machines? Nobody's doing it. If you see any of these free energy spruikers, they're living in cars, they're begging for money. They don't have free energy machines running their houses, do they? You know, just think about that. Whenever you see a free energy machine, you never see all of it. Like the recent thing on the Miles Johnston channel, you know, with the Perspex turbine running. They got two valves on top of it. Supposedly, it's sucking in air through the valve. And it's standing on a wooden box connected to a shaft, and obviously there's a motor and a power supply in the wooden box. It's all rubbish, you know. Just put a line through any of that free energy bloody nonsense. Put a line through any of the fake moon landing nonsense, because that's exactly what it is. Anyway, I hope you found that little clip interesting. And as always, I thought I'd leave the camera on the two girls here on the Sunrise show, because they're a lot easier on the eye than I am. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.